Hello, my name is Corey Reininger, and I'm going to be talking to you about my Info 5720 copyright assignment. And this portion of the assignment is the Assure lesson model breakdown. So before I go ahead and get into the breakdown of the lesson that I have created, I want to go ahead and just let you know that this lesson is targeted for a ninth grade ELA class. Okay, so the first letter of the Assure lesson model is A, and that stands for Analyze Learners. So, when I look at the students that are going to be partaking in this lesson, the age group of students in this class is anywhere from 14 to 16 years old. There is a pretty even split of males and females, and again, it is a freshman English class. In regards to the ethnic groups of students in the class's ethnic breakdown is about 70% Hispanic, about 20% African American, and then about 10% Caucasian. As far as prior knowledge of students goes, they have heard the terms copyright and plagiarism before, and they would most likely be able to verbally explain what they are. However, they have never really received a formal lesson plan model on the subject. I have analyzed students. I have observed both formally and informally so far. And I have, prior to this lesson, read over all paperwork in order to ensure that all student needs are being met. And in regards to differentiation, to scaffold down, I have designed the questions for the practice portion that could be easily made into a quick multiple choice assessment if that needed to take place. And then for gifted students to kind of scaffold up, they could practice actually implementing the active citing sources themselves to enrich. Okay, moving on to the second letter is S, and this is for state standards and objectives. I have, for this particular lesson, pulled both the TEK and then also an ISTE standard, okay? So looking at the TEK for ninth grade ELA in Texas, it is under strand 7. And the category that it falls over is number 11, which is inquiry and research. So within that subcategory, there is a letter H that it falls into. So this falls into the TEK of displaying academic citations, including for paraphrased and quoted text, and to use source materials ethically to avoid plagiarism. The second standard that I went ahead and got is that this falls under Common Belief 3, which is that learners should be prepared for college, career, and life. Okay, the third step of the Assure model is the second S, which refers to selecting strategies and resources. So as far as teacher strategies go for this lesson, I have a PowerPoint presentation that I'll be using to teach students about copyright. And then a practice worksheet will be used after in order to assess students and have them practice the skills that they just learned. The student-centered strategies that are going to be taking place during this lesson are that I will be acting as the facilitator while students work either independently or in their partners to practice using these copyright skills they just learned. Also, I designed all materials for this lesson. I designed new materials. I didn't modify anything that already existed. Both the presentation and the practice assignment were created by me and therefore were tailored to fit the exact needs of this assignment. Next up, we have U, which is utilizing resources. And for this particular section, I went ahead and looked at the 5 Ps and I broke those down. So the first P is previewing the resources. Since I have personally created all the materials, I know that they're 100% appropriate and suitable for this lesson. In regards to preparing resources, the equipment that I need for this lesson are a projector. I also need a computer, and then I need a clicker to switch the slides. The materials that I need are going to be the PowerPoint slides for the lecture, and then also copies of the worksheet and the rubric for students. To prepare the environment before my lesson takes place, I would want to ensure that all of the equipment is properly working, and then I would also want to move student desks to be in pairs. To prepare learners for this lesson, before we began this copyright lesson, I would have students do a warm-up discussion question, and that question would be, is it important for someone to get credit for something they worked hard on? Why? And then we would have a class discussion about the answers, and that would directly flow into the copyright lesson. Also, in order to provide this learning experience for students, it would occur in the form of the PowerPoint lesson and the practice assignment after. All right, moving on to the R, which is require learner participation. Students will get to apply this new copyright knowledge they learned, and they will also practice identifying plagiarism. This particular lesson that I have created, it goes hand in hand with building info literacy skills because students need to be able to identify and utilize reliable, legitimate resources. This lesson is just going to take it one step farther by making sure that they're learning also how to properly give credit where credit is due. The feedback will be given to the students in the form of a numerical grade. And a copy of the rubric will be given back to students with individualized information on where their strengths and then the needs are with this particular material. Okay, last but not least, we fall into the E category, which is for evaluating and revising. So after this lesson has been taught, in order to self-reflect, I would give students a survey where I asked them if they were able to learn about copyright and plagiarism and whether they felt like the practice really allowed them to demonstrate their knowledge. And the purpose of this survey is to ensure that I'm properly evaluating the resources that I'm going to be teaching with. If I don't get very good student reception, or if it was kind of just mediocre, that would tell me that before I teach this lesson again, I would want to modify the lesson so that the learners are able to feel like they're truly getting the objective out of the lesson. Okay, thank you so much for listening and have a lovely day.